I've been around a second, people. I've had time to watch a ton of science fiction movies. Today, let me give you the top 10 that you definitely shouldn't miss. Welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where a father and son talk about fantasy, science fiction, and other nerdy things that we enjoy. Today, just Jim, the father, here, bringing you a quick take episode, my definitive top 10 science fiction movies every science fiction fan should definitely see. If you have not seen some of these, I've got a job for you to do. You're missing some key stuff. So let's get to this list. But to go through the top 10, I've got to explain a couple of things because how does a movie end up on my top 10? Well, I've got some simple criteria. It's not that complicated. Number one, the movie needs to include actual science. I mean, it might be hard science, it might be fantastical science, but it's still science. If there's no science, no science fiction movie, no Jim's List. Number two, it's got to entertain your butt off. You cannot be bored with one of these movies. It can't be so science-y that you fall asleep partway through the movie. Older I get, the easier that becomes. So come on, you got to entertain me. Number three, the movie gives you something that you've not thought of before. You're like, whoa, what? No way. Those kind of reactions. That's necessary to make this list. The final thing, after the movie, you're still thinking about what you watched. What if, which of course leads you to want to watch the movie again. Those are the things that rise a movie up to the list. And come on, those are great things. That's why you're going to want to watch these movies. Disclaimer, I am not including any Star Wars movies here. I'm not including any Star Trek movies here. I love Star Wars and Star Trek, but they're like a different category. They're not so much science fiction as adventures in space. It's not about the science for those movies at all. It's really about the story and about the characters. The science is just a prop, a tool, a cool gadget to buy for your house and have in the background. See? So, while I love, most of those films, there's some clunkers in there. We're just not going to have any of those on this list. So, I want to lean more into true sci-fi for my top 10. I'm going to give an honorable mention right up front. 2001, A Space Odyssey. This is Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece of a movie, a collaborative creation that he did with science fiction author Arthur C. Clarke. And the creation of this movie is fascinating by itself. Go look it up. Go YouTube it. You can learn things. The movie comes out exceptional. It's groundbreaking. It's beautiful. But I don't particularly care for it. I love the story, but as a movie, it's not one that I want to go back to again and again. It's too artsy. I don't know. I just find parts of it completely boring. But it does deserve a place in the pantheon of science fiction films, so I'm giving it the honorable mention. Now, there are two movies that if you go out and check other people's top 10 sci-fi lists, you're probably going to find that you will not find on mine, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, people love to talk about the glory of Blade Runner, an adaptation of Philip K. Dick's 1968 story, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? But the truth is, Blade Runner did poorly in the box office when it came out, its initial theatrical release. It was a dud. It gained a following over time, and now people have talked it up. They love it. Many fans out there for Blade Runner, but I stand by there being good reasons why the movie did not do very well when it first came out. It has serious pacing issues. Again, it's too artsy in its cinematography, and honestly, at times the movie is just plain boring. So, no Blade Runner. It's okay if you like Blade Runner. It's not in my top 10. The other one is The Fifth Element. This movie, man, it's just too bizarre for me. Bruce Willis, a number of other big name stars, some of whom weren't as big back when it came out, but have gone on to big and better things. I don't want to give it a lot of time here. I just find the movie too weird. I mean, it's got its moments, but it's just jarring. And I don't like watching the film. It's definitely sci-fi in many ways, but it's not going to make my top 10. So there you go. No Blade Runner, no The Fifth Element. I got one more that's just not just too artsy fartsy. Okay, making up words maybe, but there will be no Dune here on this top 10. Not part one, not part two. And it is probably the director's fault, Dennis Villeneuve. Villanueva. I don't know how he says his last name, but it's such a grandiose, beautiful movie. Yes, it is. Did I enjoy watching Dune? Yes, I did. But it doesn't achieve top 10 because it's just too much of a movie. I'm not fully sufficiently entertained to go top 10 material. It might not be the director's fault. It might be Frank Herbert's fault. The source material is hard to bring to the screen in a magnificent way. Maybe I'll feel better about it down the road, but not yet. All right. That's the things I'm not going to have here. Let's get to the ones I do. And number 10, after what I said about Dune, this one's kind of funny. Arrival, 2016 film. I kind of didn't want to put this movie on the list, but I cannot deny the quality of this film and the elements of science fiction that are beautifully on display. It fully earns its spot on my top 10 despite my desires. It's got features such as the arrival of aliens, cross-species communication, and redefining the construct of time. The story is just beautifully written. Additionally, there are standout acting performances by Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, and Forrest Whitaker, man. Any Forrest Whitaker flick, yeah, I'm there for. He is so good. What nearly blows it is the directing style of, Dune's guy, Dennis Villeneuve. The same things that put me off of Dune a little bit put me off of Arrival. Some of you're shouting at me now. You don't think I know what I'm talking about, but come on. Look at my criteria again. It's just, he wants to make me yawn at times. But Arrival didn't go too far in those things. It had enough that was just amazing that it gets the top 10 at number 10. The rest, wow, they made the list easier. Number 9 is The Fly, 1986. Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis. They deliver powerful performances in this movie and are supported by special effects that are just fantastic. The drama is tense, at times quite emotional and shocking. And again, this depends where you are in the movie. This is one of Jeff Goldblum's best ever performances. It's one of his earlier ones, but man, it was incredible. So well done. I was a Goldblum fan ever since. It's loosely based on a 1957 short story by a guy named George Langelaan, and it is a considerably updated version of the black and white film The Fly that I also actually quite enjoy. But this one, next level, and the science fiction is solid. Fantastical, but solid. Number 8, Starship Troopers, the 1997 film. This is based on Robert C. Heinlein's 1959 novel of the same name. The first time I watched this movie, I didn't get it. And I found on my research on this, I wasn't alone. Many original viewers, we took the movie at face value instead of recognizing it as the brilliant satire that it is. I hadn't read the original book. I would have understood that better if I had. Upon rewatch, this film is brilliant and so enjoyable. And the cast they pulled together, exceptional. So Starship Troopers, I still love watching that movie. I got to watch it again now. It's so good. Number 7, The Terminator, 1984, the original. Now, while I think Terminator 2, Judgment Day is exceptional, perhaps better than the original movie, I am limiting myself to just one Terminator film, so I'm going to stick with the one that kicks it all off. the unstoppable robot from the future, here to eliminate the mother of the child who will become the one to overthrow the robots and the artificial intelligence behind it all. Which, by coming back into the past, causes the relationship that leads to the creation of the child. We've got paradox going on here, people. And it makes you think and think. And it's like, whoa, it's a great story. You don't want to think about it too long because paradoxes get complicated. And you're like, wait, what? Can it really? But it's massively entertaining. It was a huge box office success, surprising the critics. Potentially is the biggest key to launching director James Cameron's career. And think of all the things he's gone on to do. And it helped Arnold Schwarzenegger not get pigeonholed as Conan the Barbarian. He could do lots of things. And I mean, this is kind of ironic that he shows he can be a breakout, versatile actor by doing an emotionless robot. But it was different from Conan. And so good. Number 6. Inception, the 2010 film by Christopher Nolan, with Leonardo DiCaprio leading a packed cast. Leonardo is a thief who enters people's subconscious to steal information, and doing so in a scientific sci-fi manner. We're messing with the world of dreams and blurring reality in this movie. There's some amazing cinematography in this film that goes on to influence many movies that come after it. There's awesome special effects. Think of the fight scene where the room keeps turning. And the ending, the top, just leaves you wondering. Oh, good stuff. Number 5, The Matrix, 1999. I'm talking the original, not all the movies. The original. A fascinating premise. What if this is all a dream? And what are the ramifications of discovering this? Does it matter? Would you want to know the truth? Should it matter? What would you be willing to do about it? These are huge questions built into the movie The Matrix. Then you toss in groundbreaking special effects, fantastic cinematography, some pretty entertaining acting, fight scenes, and so rewatchable. And Keanu Reeves is okay. Number 4, Minority Report, 2002, a Steven Spielberg film loosely based on a 1958 short story by Philip K. Dick. Tom Cruise stars in this sci-fi action thriller. And you put that combination together, sci-fi action thriller, I'm going to be entertained most likely. It's built on the concept of pre-crime police. So what if you had clairvoyant ability to foresee crimes that are going to happen and therefore go and stop the person who is going to do the crime even before he's thought to do it, and judge him guilty because you know he was going to do a crime if you hadn't stopped him. I mean, wow, what a concept. What a scary, terrifying concept, especially if it could ever happen. Of course, something like this is going to be corrupted. Thus, a great movie. Number 3, The Martian, 2015, an exceptional adaptation of Andy Weir's 2011 novel of the same name. This one's directed by Ridley Scott, whom we'll see again on this list, and there's only 2 movies to come. Matt Damon gives a stellar performance in the leading role of the Martian and has a ton of screen time. He has to carry so much in this movie because he's left behind on Mars and has to survive before they can come back and get him. Why can't they just turn around and get him? Science, people! This is excellent science. One of the best science used in a science fiction movie, and that's because of the writer, Andy Weir. He takes hard science and makes it exciting and interesting. I've loved his books. I can't wait to see more adaptations of his stuff because he's terrific. Matt Damon delivers in this. I like to think the book is better than the movie, but this is super close. Now, they adapted fairly close, but they make some changes. But Matt Damon, man, he just steals the show. And not surprisingly, he earned an Oscar nomination for Best Actor. Of course, this movie was excellent. As a whole, it gets 7 nominations. Didn't win any. It won in some other awards, not the Oscars, but I mean, 7 nominations, nothing to sneeze at. Best Picture was also one of them. Hard science. It's hard to have genuine, hard science in a movie, real stuff, and keep an audience, gripped. The Martian does it. Number 2. This is my swing for the fences one. The one I don't think you're going to see on most people's sci-fi list, but I'm telling you, there's science fiction here. The movie is Get Out by 2017. I procrastinated watching this movie. I didn't really understand what I was going to be seeing, what it was about. But once I finally saw it, I was like, whoa. At its root is the scientific ability to extend life through brain transplants. Is that possible? Maybe. Maybe someday. Maybe now, if not for some serious ethical issues, which is at the root of this movie. It's basically categorized as a horror movie, but there's sci-fi built in fundamentally. This is the directorial debut of Jordan Peele. He's gone on to make quite a name for himself since then. Technically, again, this is a horror thriller, but the science fiction's there. You don't have this movie without a science fiction element. So, number 2, love that movie. If you haven't seen it, get out. Yeah, get out and see that movie somewhere. But number 1, this I did not have to think hard about. This is for a long time been my number 1 science fiction movie. It's Alien, 1979, the original. And this is where we get director Ridley Scott again. This is a science fiction horror movie. Primarily science fiction, but there are elements of horror baked into it in so many ways. I mean, consider, we get some of the best of both genres, science fiction and horror, in this movie. This is back in 1979, so it has been much copied since. Its use of darkness, its withholding of the full reveal of the bad guy, the alien, the monster, until very late in the film. The jump scare, events that happen off screen. You hear a murder over the radio. You know it's happening, but it just seems even scarier. All of these elements are classic of many science fiction films and many horror films that followed in Alien's footsteps. So it's so deserving to be number 1 on the list. It also really launched Sigourney Weaver's career. She was surrounded by a bunch of great veteran actors as well. But Sigourney Weaver, man, anything she's gone on to be in after this, including Aliens sequels, have been fantastic. All right, that's what I have for you today. That's my top 10. I stand by those films. Again, if you haven't seen any of them, get out there and see them. They're worthy. I would love to hear your thoughts about my list. That's why there's a comment box here on YouTube. Tell me what you think. If you totally disagree with any of these, I want to know that. If you just want to affirm me and send me attaboys, that's good too. If you really want to let me know how much you appreciate it, like the episode. And if you haven't subscribed, we love subscribers joining on. We also have a Patreon. You can look for ways to support us down in the show notes. Whew, fun. I want to hear your thoughts on science fiction. I'll be reading the comments. I always reply. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.